Welcome to the Stranger Conversations podcast, where we explore the lives and lessons of those around us, hidden in plain sight. I'm your host, Tay Jones. Hello and welcome to 2021. Yeah, I know it's already February and I'm not sure how that happened exactly, but I wanted to take a few minutes and do a review of the podcast from the past year. I started doing this podcast in October 2020, and it's been going even better than I had originally hoped. I've been able to talk to so many amazing people and have been able to share their lives and lessons with all of you. I put together a few clips from 2020's episodes highlighting some of the takeaways and insights from my guests. Now, obviously, they shared so much more than what you're about to hear, so if you missed any of these episodes, go back and take a listen. Based on the show's success, I will be continuing the show into this year and have many new episodes planned. I can't wait to share those with you as they become available. This year, I'll also be adding something different to the format, and the show will hopefully become a little bit more visual for the YouTube audience. It's not quite ready yet, so stand by for that, and make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and all of our social media so you don't miss out on the upcoming conversations. Our first official guest of the podcast was Caitlin Toole, a veterinary nurse who had spent most of her adult life helping animals, working closely with tigers, lions, and giraffes. She's also a mother. During her episode, we talked about how caring for animals has made her a better parent. I loved her insights on how you have to be focused and intentional with everything you do. Do you think that that's kind of helped you become a better parent?
Yeah, I think, I'm able to be empathetic of her. I never wanted to, never planned to have kids, it's just kind of something that happened. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole nother side story. But,
they always are, right?
But, and so I was like, holy shit, how, I don't even like kids.
Yeah.
and I still say that I like mine, and I'm figuring it out. I like today we had our parent teacher conference, and it was great. And there's, I'm like, okay, we're doing good. This is good. Everything's okay. Okay, yeah. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. So, I would say yes. I think it gives us my animal things. It gives me patience. And even so, when I'm working with my animals, you have to be in the moment. You can't be thinking about the fight you had with your boyfriend, this morning before you got in the car. You can't be thinking about being hungry or, my leg hurts, or I can't, I don't want to go to the dentist after work today or whatever. You have to be like, I'm sitting here staring down a giraffe, asking it to move, please. And you have to be paying attention and in the moment and aware of my surroundings and aware of what's going on, and then completely freeing, because the rest of the world does not exist in that moment. And you get the weight of the world lifted off your shoulders, and you get to focus on what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should find something that does that for them. Riding a motorcycle is another one. You must pay attention. You cannot be wandering and worrying about things. You have to be in the moment. Mm-hmm. So I think I've been able to do that with my daughter, when she's having a complete meltdown, or she's telling me a funny story, or whatever it is, I'm able to.
Or the same funny story 10 times in a row. Yeah.
Or the one funny story that lasts for 10 hours.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, wow, okay, yeah, yeah. And so being able to focus, I think, and take in the moment and not be, impatient and frustrated about the rest of what else is going on. I think that definitely is something that's helped with my parenting.
Caitlin and I also talked about being passionate and invested in how you make an impact in the world. I think we can all take this and use it in our day-to-day life.
And, people can be passionate about anything. I can talk to someone who says that they're an accountant And I'm like, oh, wow, do you love it? And they're like, yes, I get to meet all these people and do this and really get to know them through and help them through these hard times.
Right.
And it's great. Awesome.
Yeah, more power to you, right? Because we're not all built that way with
No, but
the
like
accountant
that's
gene.
great. But if someone's like, oh, I hate my job, I hate this, I'm like, I can't talk to you. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything to relate. So
Yeah.
I think it's just about finding what moves you and what you can. I mean, it sounds like the cheesiest thing in the world, but like, how are you going to change the world? Whether your world is, your tiny corner in, the bottom 2/3 of Southeast Napa, or your world is the actual world. Your actions and your job and your career has an impact, and I think it's important for people to be invested in that.
In episode 3, I talked to Amanda Wheeler. Amanda left her corporate career to follow her passion. She now works for an organization called Street Dog Hero, saving dogs around the world. We talked about following passion instead of money and how that has had a positive impact on her life. Were you in a similar field before, or were you doing something completely different with your life?
No, I was in good old corporate America before.
Ah.
I worked for Morgan Stanley for many, many years in San Diego.
Wow.
And then I was really not fulfilled by that in any way, shape, or form. So I decided to quit my job and pack up all my stuff. And I was born and raised in Bend, so I moved back to Bend. And then I had recently gotten involved. So when I was living in San Diego, I had a dog that was diagnosed with bone cancer.
Okay.
And through that, I ended up finding through his doctors and whatnot, I ended up hearing about this organization called Best Friends. And they're the nation's largest rescue, actually.
Okay.
And they have a sanctuary in Kanab, Utah, where you can go and volunteer and work with. They have all sorts of animals: horses, pigs, parrots, dogs, cats.
Wow.
They take a lot of really hard to place animals, like they took all of Michael Vick's dogs, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So after my dog passed away, I ended up going there and volunteering for a week, and sparked my. I was kind of like, oh, I think I really like animal welfare.
Yeah.
So then I started volunteering at the Humane Society there, but then shortly after that, I ended up moving back to Bend. So I knew that I wanted to become involved with the shelter here, but kind of more on a higher level, or where I thought that I could contribute more, which at that time was more in the financial sector.
Mm-hmm.
With my Morgan Stanley background. So I ended up applying to be on the board of directors at the shelter here and getting a position there. So I did that for a few years, and through that, I ended up meeting a gal who was involved with Street Dog Hero because her passion, she had traveled to, I think it was Aruba, and had seen the dogs there and had helped there, and so she was involved with Street Dog Hero. So that's and then they were looking to expand and needed more help, and that kind of ended up being the bridge to that. And I just started doing their social media and things like that, and then eventually I ended up having that be my sole job.
Yeah. So packing up, probably a very lucrative job with Morgan Stanley down in California, and just packing up and moving back home to Bend. But that was before you actually had another job lined up?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that was probably scary, huh?
Yeah, it was very. I had decided I was going to get my real estate license and try that. And then, I had saved up some money, and I was just going to roll the dice and see what happened.
Yeah, and where do you think, you would get the courage to, just up and completely change your life? Was it more you weren't happy where you were at Morgan Stanley, or just that you wanted to pursue something totally different?
I think it was a combination of the two. I mean, I felt like I was at a dead end kind of with my career. There was really not much more I felt for me to do there. And I also felt like I actively had moments where I felt like, is this all my life is going to be? Like, it just felt very meaningless to me. I didn't feel like I was contributing or doing anything worthwhile, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of a combination of wanting to change that. And yeah, it was kind of like now or never. Like, you might wake up and be 50, and wish you did it, and you never did.
Yeah, well, I think that's important, to find something, that you're passionate about and actually, take the step, a little leap of faith to go down. It sounds like everything worked out in the end for you.
Yeah, it definitely takes a leap of faith for sure. I mean, I have lots of friends who, are kind of stuck. Like, I feel like my generation, we're still in the, like, you need to work to make money. Working isn't for fulfillment or, your passion in life. Like, that's your obligation to support your life or your lifestyle. So I feel like I have a lot of friends who are stuck in jobs that they don't like or they find unfulfilling, but it's really hard to transition that out of that. And it's really hard to find a job. I mean, depending upon what it is, of course, it's very hard to make a decent living in animal welfare for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as you grow older, and you get more life experiences and do different things, you kind of work yourself up and you kind of really realize what's important in your life and take those next steps, those leaps of faith to kind of get yourself into what you're passionate about.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I guess what I was trying to say was I have friends who are afraid to give up the money.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I have to make this much. And, and I used to think that way too. I used to be like, there's no way I could take a pay cut. Like, I use every dime as it is. Like, there's just no way I can do that. But it's funny how, I mean, now I, of course, make less than half of what I used to, but I don't feel broke or poor at all.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, I feel so much better about my life and where I'm at, and the money has I mean, of course you have to make enough to put a roof over your head, but
yeah, it's kind of that the fulfillment is the payoff there.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't, if someone said, oh, well, you can go back to making double, and I would never trade that. So I wish that people could kind of get out of their, this idea that, like, I have to make X amount of money, kind of thing.
Amanda continued this theme of doing what you love and making a difference in the world. She'd love to encourage people to take risks in their life for a larger purpose.
To me, every dog that goes to a home, that's a success.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And do you think you'd be doing this, at least working in the same field, if money was no factor, you could do anything in your life? Is this what you would be doing?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I wouldn't change it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I can definitely.
If I was tomorrow, I'd be doing the same thing.
Well, that's good. I guess that's how you know whether or not you found, your thing in life, right? If you'd still do it, no matter about the money, which it sounds like, you were willing to give up the money to come give it a shot. And I'm glad that it's something that, is working out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if someone was going to find out more about Street Dog Hero or to help you guys out, is there donations? How does somebody become a foster parent? Like, where do they find that information?
Yeah. So everything's on our website, www.streetdoghero.org. And we have a foster tab on there that talks all about fostering, and there's a link there to our foster home application. We also have all of our available dogs up for adoption there as well. And then, of course, you can access the application there. But yeah, I mean, we survive 100% on donations. So,
Yeah.
you know, what's really helpful is people following us on Facebook and Instagram and sharing our posts and helping us spread the word, kind of. And, you know, and yeah, I mean, we can't do what we do without donations. So absolutely. Right. And it's, you know, it's everything from money to time. You know, we have people that are just drivers. They drive dogs from Portland to Bend, or we have foster. There's all sorts of different things people can do to help. And it all matters and makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully this podcast can help you guys out a little bit. We'll definitely link, you know, all the website and everything that you're mentioning here, you know, on our stuff, and hopefully, hopefully people could listen to this and, you know, get to hear that passion that you have for what you're doing and for the dogs and everything that you're saving around the world.
Yeah, maybe I can inspire someone to quit their corporate job and just take a risk.
Rob Mariano, a.k.a. Boston Rob from Survivor fame, shared his life with us on episode 4. This episode was full of interesting stories and insights on life. One of the things that struck me the most about Rob was his passion for family and his upbringing in a largely family-centered home. I loved hearing a more personal side of Rob that you may not hear in other interviews. This is what Rob had to say about what family means to him and how important family is in life. What does family mean for you?
Yeah, family's everything. It's the most important thing to me. You know, I grew up with a strong sense of family. You know, my parents had my brother and myself, and we always did things together as a family growing up, and that was always instilled. You know, I come from an Italian-American family. My grandparents were immigrants, and, you know, a lot of it is like stereotypical, like every holiday, every birthday, every occasion, we were always together. And you know, ironically, this is the week after Thanksgiving, and we just got together for Thanksgiving up in Boston. Despite the pandemic, everybody, you know, took precautions to be safe and get tested and everything.
Yeah.
But we were able to get together. And I try to instill those same values in my kids, and we do lots of activities together. Life changes, you know. You have three boys. You know how much your life changes when you have kids. You know, it's not your own anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm grateful that we're able to spend the amount of time we do with them, and to have the adventures and sharing that together.
Yeah. Yeah, your life ceases, you know, to be just yours. That is true. You know, I know it has for me. I'm assuming, you know, becoming a father for you has really changed you as a man.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it does for everybody, you know. It's interesting that, like I said, I go back to, like, you know, having 4 daughters. That's something that, like, if you told me 20 years ago when I was 25 years old, I would be like, no way. But it's almost like it was meant to be, and I wouldn't rather it any other way. I go to the mailbox and come back, and I still get "Daddy's home."
Yeah.
You know, so they love their dad, and I love it. I love them, you know, so much. So
yeah, that's great. That's important. You know, I also noticed that all of your girls have Rose attached to their names. You know, who is Rose, and what's the significance there?
So Rose is my grandmother.
Okay.
Was my grandmother. She passed away. But there's a tradition in the Mariano family. All the girls' middle names were Rose. Ironically, my mother, who was not a Mariano, she married my dad, but her middle name was Rose also.
Oh.
So, yeah, it was just kind of a tradition, and we wanted to honor it. My oldest daughter was born on the 4th of July, which was the day that my grandmother Rose passed away.
Oh, really?
So it was kind of like, out of respect and out of tradition, we decided to keep it going.
Yeah.
And I love it. You know, it's cool. They love it. They love that they all, you know, share that. It's not lost on me that eventually someday they may get married and choose to take their husband's names. and at least their middle name will still have them bonded. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah, I always say, kind of like our upbringing, it shapes us, no matter what. Sometimes your parents are kind of the people you want to emulate when you get older and have your family of your own. Sometimes they serve as that example of what not to do. But it sounds like you had maybe more of the, you want to mirror kind of what you grew up with and what you were around as a kid.
yeah, I mean, I had a great experience. My parents were very loving. I'm still very close with them, and they were great parents. So if I could provide even some of what they did for me, then I feel like I'm doing them justice for sure.
Like most guests on the show, I asked Rob what was the best advice that he'd ever received. I loved his answer and I couldn't agree more. Let's take a listen. What's the best advice you've ever received in your life? It sounds like you've got a lot of great influences. I'm sure you picked up little morsels along the way.
Yeah, I think the most important thing the best advice I've ever got has been, that if you want something in life, you have to work for it.
Mhm.
A lot of good things don't come so easy, and you have to be persistent. And if you are, then you can accomplish anything you want. I tell my kids every day, all you have to do is have a goal, write it down, look at it, put it somewhere where you can see it every day, and work really, really hard to make it come true. And it can come true. But, we live in a generation now where everybody wants everything fast and quick, and it's the millennial way. And I truly believe that there is something to be said for the old school grind of just keep working at it, because persistence does pay off.
Moving on to episode 5, I talked to Lindsay Richter. Lindsay is a professional mountain biker who now owns and operates a business called Ladies All Ride, where she empowers women to get on mountain bikes and conquer life. She too, like Rob, was a contestant on Survivor. Being on Survivor sparked battles with depression and self-esteem, which she still works on to this day. Through the process of healing, she learned how to find confidence and pass that on to other women. Here's what Lindsay shared about dealing with her struggles.
Well, and you asked how I coped. It was
Yeah.
really, it really did a number on my self-esteem, just the public ridicule. And like I said, the internet was pretty fresh, so there was no social media. What was popular on the internet were chat rooms. So we all would go on these chat rooms and kind of just read what people were saying about us, but it was pretty cruel.
Yeah.
And I definitely went into a funk. I've always dealt with some low self-esteem and some mental health issues with depression when I was younger. And this sort of kicked it back into high gear. And I was pretty humiliated. I was getting recognized in public a lot. And people would just have no problem running up to me and saying, "Oh my gosh, you're Lindsay from Survivor. I hated you."
Oh, wow.
And you're like, right on. Thank you. That's great, because I wasn't acting.
Yeah.
So it was harsh, but I have to say what really got me through. And then I moved to LA. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and
Right.
moved to LA to audition, and I was just kind of flailing. But what I did have was my bike, and I continued to race my bike. I found races around Los Angeles, and that is what got me through. Was I would just go out and ride my bike. And like I said before, it's a sport that really shows you what you're capable of and helps you see how strong you are and what kind of a person you are. With my bike, it's easy
Yeah.
to throw temper tantrums and get frustrated when I'm not doing well, or the sport is very challenging and can be very difficult. And it's a sport that really helped me realize that I'm strong enough that I'll be okay.
In this next clip, Lindsay talks about her passion for helping others through mountain biking and how the sport can help you get through life and overcome struggles.
Yeah, and I want that for more women, because
Yeah.
I wasn't always confident. I wasn't always secure with myself. I mean, I'm still not. I still have a therapist. I still have to work every day on battling depression and insecurities and anxiety. And I'm doing it. I'm doing the work. And mountain biking has helped me see what I'm capable of, both on and off the bike.
Yeah.
And that's really where my passion lies, is I don't believe I'm alone having some mental health issues I have to deal with and self-esteem issues. And I want more women to see that not only does this lifestyle and a great community of women within this lifestyle exist, but that change is possible, and mountain biking can be a real catalyst for growth and change in people's lives. And I want that for people. I know I felt stuck. I know that I felt like aspects of my personality were unfixable, like I was broken. I've dealt with some trauma that I felt broke me, and it's kind of like mountain biking. I have fallen and gotten hurt, and then I'm repaired. I repair myself, and I work hard at repairing myself. And it's just really taught me that life is like a sport. You're never going to get better at it if you don't practice and make a conscious effort to understand it better. And so by using mountain biking as that tool for understanding yourself better, I hope more women will see that it doesn't have to be a scary sport. It can actually be a life-changing activity.
Yeah. I definitely don't think you're alone with, struggling with some of those, things in your life. And I think especially, nowadays with social media, I think it's probably more common in, even for women, young women to feel some of those self-esteem issues. But it is really important that people talk about it. A lot of people bury that. So I think it's great, that you're very open and honest about, some of the struggles you've had and about what you're trying to do to change it. Sometimes people just need to hear it, even if they're not ready to talk about it themselves. Part of that healing process is listening to other people, knowing that they're not alone, even if they don't want to admit it yet.
Yeah, it's funny because as much as I want to say I hate social media, because I think it can be so negative, especially for the younger generation, the way you can compare yourself and start feeling not good enough or fear of missing out. Just there's a lot of negative things that can come from social media. I'm lucky enough that at 46 years old, I don't get caught up too much in that because I'm using it as a platform to be real and honest. And I'm trying to reach women and mountain bikers. I'm not trying to be popular on the internet. I'm trying to really create change and make a difference. And I realize that if I'm asking people to come to my clinics and put themselves in a vulnerable position, that I better also show them that I am no stranger to putting myself in a vulnerable position. So a lot of my social media posts, I have these themes. One of them is Motivation Monday, which a million people have, but mine definitely relate mountain biking to life. And I talk about shame and embarrassment and the things I've gone through. And I don't really give advice per se. I just tell stories of what I've gone through and how I've gotten through it and how I relate it to mountain biking. Therefore, I feel like more people are going to trust us, that we're good, passionate coaches because of our ability to be real and vulnerable and not intimidating. I mean, the sport's intimidating enough. I don't want people coming to our camps thinking that we're a bunch of badass mountain bikers who have big egos and are going to go huck our meat off these big jumps and show off. We're not like that. We're a bunch of humble women. Most of us are in our 40s who just want to see women inspired by this sport.
Yeah. Being real, people pick up on that very easily. It's very easy to see, even on social media, today's world, everything's, abs and breasts, it's crazy. But I think when people do show the realness of them, they kind of overcome all of that. And I think probably most people, those are probably some of your most popular posts, when you're being real with people.
Totally. Yeah. They're frightening for me because it is vulnerable. And, that's where I get into trouble, is if I put something really emotional up and then I feel like I didn't get enough likes. That's where I have to be careful and not judging myself based on likes and interactions. And that's, I think, what is most damaging about social media, especially someone in my position who we have sponsors and we represent these brands. And part of that means they look at our social media and they see how many people are watching us. And there is pressure to perform online. And I'm pretty clear with a lot of my sponsors. I'm lucky in that I've been doing this for so long that I've developed really great relationships with companies. So I'm not just some influencer that they see online. They truly know me. And I'm really clear about, I don't want my life run
Yeah.
by social media. I don't want to be judged by my social media. But I mean, that's part of the reason I'm still in therapy, because I still get sucked in and think, oh, I didn't get enough likes. Nobody likes me.
Yeah.
I'm going to get dropped by all my sponsors. And I find myself going down that spiral of comparison and feeling like I'm not enough. And then I have to really step back and go, this is all happening to me right now because of social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not want to go down that road. That is not who I want to be.
Lindsay also broke down why she is focusing on helping women specifically and how women are stronger together.
It saved my life. It's a sport that after Survivor, I felt a little lost. Like, what do I do now? I was just on TV. Do I just go back to work and just get a regular job?
Yeah.
It's something in me just said there's more for me out there than just working for someone else. And mountain bikes, they have this crazy way of teaching you what it feels like to face fear by learning what needs to happen to get through something. Like in mountain biking, you can't be thinking thoughts that are negative and debilitating. You can't stare at a rock in a rock garden and imagine what your face is going to look like if you hit that rock. That's not going to, that's not going to help you,
Yeah.
So you have to look ahead and only allow thoughts that keep you moving forward, thoughts that serve you. And through this process of learning to teach and kind of regaining my self-esteem, I realized how much the sport related to life, and how many women it wasn't being addressed. Anything you saw in magazines or on TV that had mountain biking looked very extreme, because that's what sold magazines, was someone doing a huge canyon gap, where if they fell, they would die. And I felt very frustrated that women are probably pretty scared of the sport because of what's being marketed. So I set out on a mission to help promote the sport to women using the emotional component, and how I was very clear about it is a scary, dangerous, challenging sport that can change your life because it can show you what you're made of and help you find strength and power within.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you had any instruction, from males, and if you got any of that, kind of what missed the mark, why, why women, like, what is it about, women wanting to learn from other women? What do you think that is a big part of it? Do you think it's more of a comfort level, or is that kind of like just part of the sisterhood?
I think it's kind of both. I think in my experience doing this, men and women are different learners and different teachers.
Yeah, for sure.
If you've ever read the book, Women Are From Venus, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I mean, I feel like that reigns true with learning sports. Men tend to be more kinesthetic learners. They want to just do it and feel it and experiment with it, where women tend to want to understand it and really hear what needs to happen and develop an understanding and then try it. Women, I think, need more details, and female coaches tend to give more details. And it's a fine balance between saying enough to help them understand, but not saying too much to overwhelm them.
Yeah.
And in my experience, I've been taught by, both my certification courses were taught by men, and they were awesome coaches. But my husband, who is now my ex-husband, that's a whole nother story of a hard time in life. But he had been doing it for so long that he really didn't know how to put it into words. But once I learned to coach and started bringing these ideas back to him, then he would start to think, oh yeah, I guess that is what I'm doing. And then maybe this and maybe that. And it sparked conversation and thought. And then I just started asking pros constantly questions all the time. Like, well, what do you think you do in this situation? And what do you think you do in this situation? I just wanted as many people as I could get information from to tell me what they thought they were doing, especially the experts. But back to the men and women thing, it's also an ego thing. It's, we talk about at our camps, there's no egos here. We're all on the same level. We're all here to just enjoy mountain biking and find a deeper meaning in the sport and learn skills to keep us safe. But it's also very hard and it's a very vulnerable thing to put yourself out there in front of people and try a sport that you might not be good at right away. It's very vulnerable, and a lot of people don't like being vulnerable. They like to stick to what they were good at and not try anything new.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when women are learning with other women, it's a little less vulnerable, especially the way we structure our camps. We make a speech that we tell them we're all vulnerable. As a coach, I have to demonstrate things in front of you that I might not do perfectly. I'm going to fall in front of you. I'm going to mess up in front of you. We're all in this together. And I just think there is a sisterhood in, if she can do it, I can do it. Because when you see a man who's just generally bigger and stronger, even if they're not bigger and stronger, there's just a difference in body types between men and women, and men can muscle through some things that maybe not all women can.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see a woman do something with technique and with skill, I think it really opens their minds into believing they can do it. And that's a big part of mountain biking. You have to believe you can do it before you can try something that's dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's
we have a lot of sayings,
and
one of the sayings is hesitation equals devastation, and that it runs true in life as well.
All right, thanks for sticking around for a little 2020 rewind of the Stranger Conversations podcast. I'd like to thank all my guests for signing up for the show, sharing their lives, and getting this podcast off the ground. As I said before, stay tuned for more great episodes of the podcast, and don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the show and all of our social media so you don't miss out on episodes to come. And if you know someone with a life to share, a story to tell, or something they'd like to promote, tell them about this show so we can continue to share the lives and lessons of those around us hidden in plain sight. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned.